All right, Alan and Drew Kinney here with another industry update. So Alan, we are a couple weeks into January, right? And obviously we're off to a little bit of a hot start. We had a windstorm. I think our agency alone, we put in at least like 50 claims or so. And that doesn't even count, folks that would have reported directly with the insurance companies. We know 2023 was a bit of a wash. There was a lot of stress on the industry in terms of weather events and claims and profitability. So I'm gonna ask you now, put you on the spot, what is your crystal ball, for our clients, for our folks? What can they expect from the insurance marketplace in 2024? Let's say early 2024 too. It doesn't have to be the full year picture.
Yeah, great question. So what I think, and again, it changes rapidly because like Drew just mentioned, we had a large weather event 2 days ago, so we're already off to a great start to the year. I think you're going to see a lot of what we saw in 2023. Again, a lot of our companies took rate, so I think from a consumer perspective, yes, you're still going to see some of those rate actions rolling out onto your renewal paperwork. I don't think we're going to see the increases we saw in 2023, so if you already got through your renewal, you're probably going to see a softer hit this year, hopefully. It's going to depend again on these events and what do the insurance companies start to forecast out. But I do think you're going to continue to see a very tight underwriting environment. So what does that mean? Fancy insurance terms there.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah. It just basically means like they're going to follow their guidelines and they are looking at everything. So you're going to hear a lot from our team right now. This is not a great time for a small claim. Insurance really needs to be right now about the catastrophic loss. It's got to be something that you're like, yeah, this I need to put this claim in, or else I got to rebuild my house. I got to total out my car. This isn't the time for a $500 claim on something. We're not at a point right now where there's a lot of tolerance for what we call frequency, a large number of claims. So you really want to avoid the small stuff. Just it sucks, but just eat that right now, and then we'll come back around down the road when the environment changes. Hopefully, we can get back to a place where you can put some of those smaller claims in. But right now, I keep it to the big stuff. Is kind of
And like we've said we've said this before, right? Frequency and severity are like the two things that companies look at from a claims perspective, and what they worry about with frequency is that there's a pattern, a trend, and more claims are going to happen. And they're in a period of time right now where they're looking at things with a very close eye to try to avoid those frequent events and histories. So perfect. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think we've had a lot of carriers in 2023 that made some moves, and I think it's kind of provided some stability. And so I think we'll see that kind of into 2024. There are some that I think are probably going to make some moves again, but for the most part, I think they're kind of hoping what they've done in 2023 is going to hopefully be the answer for them. Of course, hopefully we don't have any more windstorms like we just had.
Off to a hot start.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so from a personal lines perspective, any things that you see kind of coming up? Any hot takes there?
I don't think so, other than what we talked about. This isn't going to be the time for the small refrigerated products claim or something like that. I think otherwise, we are still seeing long lead times at body shops to get repairs done. So we're telling everybody just be patient through a process like that. It's painful. We get it. We know it. Rental car prices are still through the roof, so you've got to pay close attention to those type of things. But
timing becomes very important in that of like when to take the rental car, just because you can exhaust your coverage pretty quickly these days. And then what about commercial lines? What do we kind of see in there?
Yeah, same concept. Companies, that's usually where people start loosening up the quickest. So we are seeing some people starting to poke around a little bit on, what are some lines of business that they're real excited about, and trying to get some more activity there. So that is a good sign. The flip side that we are starting to see is they're looking at ways to mitigate their maximum exposures. So we are seeing a lot of focus or conversations right now around what we call blanket coverages, which is where you got multiple buildings all on one policy with one large limit. They're trying to figure out ways to kind of cap some of those extreme losses from their perspective. So again, still underwriting basics they're really focused on.
Yeah, and when they're looking at things with that keen eye, I think one of the things that's always historically been true is that they're looking at folks that kind of really dial in and focus on their businesses. Right now it's hard if you're going to spin off a one-off odd thing that's not related to your business. They're not super keen on that. And if they find out companies are doing this or somebody's doing this, it can lead to them maybe potentially getting off coverage. So it's 2024, great time to really focus in on your core business and kind of lock that down.
Yeah, and just to build on that a little bit too, the other thing we're seeing a lot of focus on, both commercially and on farm lines, is what we call loss recommendations. So carriers are trying to get ahead of that loss curve by paying for someone to come out to your property, inspect it, and make some recommendations to you on things you can do to avoid losses. But when they go through that expense, they want to see some level of action done by the insured. So yeah, we are seeing a lot of follow-up on those type of things. Did these things actually get done? So again, this is not the time to be ignoring those type of items and putting them off. Yes, we understand it's hard to find contractors and so forth, so there is some understanding and patience there, but they do want to see that you're making progress on those items.
Perfect. Well, I think that kind of covers a nice solid industry update. We kind of stay on top of all the trends and things that are happening. It's one of the real value propositions of, working with an independent agent like us. That's something Al and I focus on a lot, but here's to a claim-free 2024, hopefully, right? At least we'll get past this little speed bump in the beginning.
Exactly.
All right. See you later, guys.